Greetings and salutations, Vault Dwellers. My name is C.A.M.P,
And I'm Noodle Pants.
and we want to talk to you today about Season 16. A few weeks back, we made a video showing some math about the rewards and whether or not they were going to be worth it. And now that this season has actually rolled out, we have some updated math for you, both for standard players and for those of you who might have purchased the entire season. Was that a good idea? Was that economical? You'll find out in this video.
Before we jump in though, we want to thank our channel members. Thank you so much, you guys and gals, for supporting this channel. We love you and we love spoiling you with some secret extra content. For those of you who are not members yet and you love our channel, please consider hitting that big join button under the video and help support this channel.
I'd like to start by saying that Fallout 76 Season 16 is barely better than what I would call a dumpster fire.
Sadly, I agree completely.
There are bugs, there are changes, there are additions, and there are things that are just wholly unnecessary, which are not offset by the value of the things that they've added. First and foremost, we all know about the scoreboard, but that's going to be the bulk of this video, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Before we do that, let's talk about some of the hidden changes and other things that we've noticed. As you may have seen in the video from Mr. Westtech, Team XP has been nerfed. Team XP is where if you run an event and members of your team tag an enemy, then when the final member kills the enemy, the entire team gets way more XP than what any individual would get by killing the enemy themselves. This has apparently gone away, which honestly I think is a good thing. If you think of experience points as actually deriving experience from an activity, there's no benefit to having one person shoot an enemy and then another person kill it. For example, if you were to pound a nail halfway into a piece of wood, and then I came along and pounded it the rest of the way, we should not both get 3 times the experience points for doing it.
There's also this bizarre transparency that's been added to the Power Armor HUD, which makes it ugly. But I don't play in Power Armor, and neither does C.A.M.P, so that doesn't directly affect us.
Other people are reporting that camp budgets have been reduced, where people have actually taken their camp and moved it and then been unable to build everything that they had just a moment ago. I don't know if that's a bug or some stupid Bethesda thing, but it's definitely present.
People are also reporting with alarming frequency that enemies are not spawning in events which have waves. So, for example, the final wave in Line in the Sand or the final wave in Eviction Notice does nothing. Nobody ever shows up. Moonshine Jamboree, no final wave. And in some events, the event still ends and you get credit for it even though you didn't kill anybody. Obviously in the 4th wave, there are tougher enemies, more XP, more legendary enemies, but if they never spawn, you never get any. In other events where enemies aren't spawning, the event never ends. I've seen people post comments that in Moonlight Jamboree, everyone left the event, came back 35 minutes later, and the event was still running, and there were just no enemies. That's a bug, but it's still garbage.
We're also getting reports of problems with Union Power Armor, where players who bought the plans can no longer build it, and Giuseppe no longer has it for sale because they already bought it. That's utterly inexcusable. Those of you who have been playing for a long time remember when Fallout 76 came out, and it was definitely a dumpster fire then. Maintaining a large open world environment like this is challenging, and anytime there's a new release, there are going to be bugs. I don't expect a new release to come out perfectly. When you're building software, it's important that you get something out and not that you wait for it to be perfect. However, when the mistakes that you've made negatively impact everybody's current ability to play the game, well then that stuff should have been caught during the QA process prior to the release. Undoubtedly, there are many more things that we'll discover, but one of the things that has irked us and made it difficult for both of us to play, you gotta remember, we have a channel about Fallout 76, so we're gonna keep playing, we're gonna keep making content, because if the game dies, that's gonna murder our channel. But Bethesda has done something new that we just can't stand. That's this stupid pop-up that tells me there's a new Miscellaneous quest and asks me if I want to track it. Not only does it show up in the top center of my screen while I'm in the middle of doing something else, but it also shows up on the side. It shows up randomly all the time. I don't want to track those things. I don't care. The reason that I'm ignoring Miscellaneous quests is because they're miscellaneous. The reason I think this is going on is to give new players the ability to track their quests when they appear without having to go to the Pip-Boy to do it. But the UX for this is unforgivably bad. You never want to interrupt what somebody is doing just to give them extraneous information unrelated to the task that they're completing. That's disruptive. And it's the same as if you're doing something and I came along and I poked you in the ribs and I said, hey, there's something over here that you totally don't care about. You're not going to like it. These things are probably being tried out with us as the test group. They should have put it on the PTS server and asked for feedback, but maybe the Windows users don't care. I don't know. If you're a Windows user, tell me if you care. I'm not dissing on Windows users, but regardless, who knows? Bethesda may not have an internal test group that they can run this against, or maybe their test group is just like, yeah, everything's perfect, because they want to continue to get their paychecks. We don't actually know.
Let's move on to the thing that we do know, which is just how effective the changes to the Season 16 scoreboard actually are.
If I could summarize it with one word, it would be not so hot. First, the math. Noodle bought everything all the way to rank 100. She did this so that she could buy the Cremator and immediately make a video about it.
But we also did it so that we could get an idea of the economics associated with this type of transaction versus grinding your way forward. In exchange for paying for that, we got 2,475 tickets, which is 25 tickets per 99 ranks.
And that cost us 14,850 atoms, and ultimately it cost us $120 because we bought the atoms in bulk. There are atom rewards on the scoreboard, so we immediately were able to buy back 2,000 atoms. Thus, our actual cost for purchasing the 99 ranks was 12,850 atoms, and at the direct atom to dollar price, that gives us back $20. So effectively, we spent $100 to rank up to level 100, receiving 2,325 tickets after we bought back the 2,000 atoms. Now, how does that change the math? There was no change in the average CAPS cost in tickets because there were no additional CAPS rewards on any of the missing pages. But with the new adjusted atoms per ticket value based on what we actually spent, there was a shift from 16 to 5.53. So that means it previously cost 16 atoms per ticket, but now it only cost us 5.53 atoms per ticket. That's almost a 66% reduction in the cost, which dramatically changes the tickets per dollar and the caps per dollar values. Tickets per dollar went from 6.37 to 23.48, and caps per dollar went from 38.91 to 14,349.
Both of those are huge increases, but they don't really matter because obviously you can't buy tickets with dollars and you can't buy caps with dollars. But what you could use this for is, in the future, if Bethesda ever did allow us to buy caps for atoms, and they were selling any fewer than 14,349 caps for 100 atoms, you'd be able to tell that that's just not a good deal.
But it's never going to happen. So what is curious is the new atom to atom cost. If you were a person who just ground your way forward, then there are only 4 atom rewards that are worth the comparable atoms spent on the rank. Most of them give you less than 1 atom in return for every atom that you would spend, according to the value that Bethesda has told us atoms have by the way that they price them on the scoreboard. The best one is, of course, on page 7, where you can get 200 atoms for 0 tickets. Definitely buy that. The other ones are on page 10, 11, and 13. And the ones that are no good are on every other page, with most returning 1/2 of an atom for every atom that you spend, some of them 0.64, and one of them 0.83.
For us, on the other hand, every single atom that we received was worth more than the atoms that we spent on it, with an average of 2.84 atoms received for a single atom spent. That's not a bad deal.
If the real benefit only applies to those who bought the entire season, well, it begs the question of why somebody might do that. For that, let's talk about how long it takes to complete the season. We estimated that it takes, on average, 30 minutes to do an entire run of dailies. Obviously, you can do sometimes in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, but let's just say 30 minutes. And we gave an hour to do a full run of the weekly, resulting in 4.5 hours a week to complete all daily and weekly challenges.
Earlier, we estimated that it would take 35.4 hours to reach rank 100 if you did not use boosters, and 28.32 hours if you did. These numbers are not exact, but we'll continue to use them, and we'll use the unboosted one.
Now, our cost to purchase rank 100 was $2.82 per hour, assuming that we spent 35.4 hours to move to rank 100 and dividing that by the $100 that we spent. That's way less than minimum wage. So you have to ask yourself, can you do anything else with that time and earn more than $2.82 per hour? If you can, it makes more sense to buy the season, get the rewards, and then play for fun.
Obviously, this is not for most people, but for people like us who spend a significant amount of time making content, it totally makes sense. Another way to look at this is to imagine that a player spent the 7.87 weeks necessary to grind up to level 100, judiciously saving their tickets along the way. That's 35.4 hours, for which they get 2,475 tickets, or just under 70 tickets an hour. Based on the average price of atoms in the season, that person has now been given the equivalent of $388.50 worth of tickets. That also means that we were able to buy $388.50 worth of tickets for $100 and get back 35.4 hours of time. That's a smoking deal. The other player spent 35.4 hours of time and was paid, in air quotes, just under $11 per hour to do so.
Now, that's not necessarily bad, since the player also got to spend time enjoying the game, but let's see what you can use those tickets for. Noodle immediately bought the Cremator and all of its mods for 365 tickets. I had her sit down and go through every single page on the scoreboard and decide what else she might want. In the first round, she picked out items that she would want, and those items came to a whopping total of 1,360 tickets. Assuming that we already spent the tickets to buy back our 2,000 atoms, that leaves her with 1,285 tickets. So I asked her to go through the list again and pick a second round of things that she might be interested in. Many of these things she didn't want. She was just spending tickets on them because she had the tickets and she needed to spend them. That second list came up to 570 tickets, leaving her 715 tickets and a bunch of stuff that she doesn't want. Assuming that she just really genuinely doesn't want those items and never goes back and buys them, then at the end of the season, she's going to have 715 tickets go up in smoke. That effectively means that she used those tickets on the items that she purchased, because they went up in smoke, or if she spent them for stuff, doesn't matter. She doesn't have them and she has the items. So it actually adjusts the value of those items by 31%. The result of that is that she overpaid by 31% for every single thing that she bought. And herein lies the problem. Bethesda has spun this out under the guise of giving you more freedom, but it doesn't. It gets you to play more, and ultimately it still gets you to buy things that you don't want or else forfeit your tickets at the end of the season. You're trading your time for digital goods at the rate of $11 an hour, but is that actually worth what you're receiving?
We all know from Bethesda themselves that the reason they've done all this is to get people to spend more time in the game. It used to be that you got to rank 100 and you just got something for every rank along the way. And if you didn't like what you got, well, that doesn't matter. You got it. You didn't really mind. You'll figure out how to use it. Someone will eventually figure out how to merge a wall into an octopus or something. What mattered is that you got a reward with every single rank. And then you also used to get things for every single rank after rank 100. Now, there's nothing between rank 100 and rank 150 except getting more tickets that you can spend on more items that you already don't want. And after rank 150, the stuff that you used to get for every single rank now takes you 3. It's 3,500 score per rank after level 100. And if you do every single daily and weekly challenge, you can advance 8 ranks per week, which means it will take you 6.25 weeks to get from level 100 to level 150, assuming that you don't use any score boosters along the way. And then after you get to rank 150, you still have to have purchased 95 of the other items before you can even start redeeming your tickets on the stuff that's here.
In Noodle's case, she only selected 68 items. So she's being forced to go back and buy another 27 items that she doesn't want, spending those tickets on things just so that she can spend her tickets on things like scrap kits and basic repair kits, stuff that she probably doesn't even use in the game now. I can't tell you how many repair kits I'm carrying around. I don't need to buy more. What's worse is you now have an additional 1,250 tickets that you have to figure out how to spend.
I definitely do not think that Season 16 was an improvement for the people who play the game. And I think that anybody with even a lick of sense would have been able to tell that before they rolled it out. But they rolled it out anyway.
It's worth exploring why. Why does Bethesda want people to play more? Is it to have more people online when they get a rush of new players after the television show drops in a couple of weeks? Most of the Fallout players are not monetized. There are those of us who are in Fallout first, and we definitely carry some of the weight of everybody else. But if you get more people to play, it actually costs Bethesda more money. They have to spend more on server costs. They have to spend more on support because some percentage of those people will have issues. They have to spend more the more people are playing. Yet they don't have a way to monetize that other than getting people to maybe buy atoms for things in the Atomic Shop that maybe they don't need. So for anyone who's not Fallout first, there's no recurring revenue stream. And in fact, some people didn't even pay for the game. I know some of you did, and whenever we say people didn't pay for it, you're like, what the hell? I paid for it. We didn't pay for it. It was the free game of the month on PlayStation Store, PlayStation Plus, whatever, last year. And that was honestly the only reason that I got it. I was like, well, I've heard bad things about this game since it came out. Let me just get it for free because I'm not willing to spend the money on it and find out that it sucks. It turned out not to suck, and it's now the only game that we play. So I'm very glad that we did, but a lot of people didn't pay for the game. So you got people who didn't pay for the game, who don't pay to play. There's no sense in this business model. No company allows you to play the game for free. No company gives DLC for free. Yet Bethesda does, and I don't think it's sustainable. Imagine if Bethesda just decided to give the game away for free to everybody. Well, how would they monetize it then? They can't just hope that people go and join Fallout first. As many of you know, I worked in IT for most of my career, and then I ended up in marketing. And in marketing, I was helping businesses sell the technology that they created, because I was a user of the technology, and I understand why businesses would buy it, and I understand how it operates. So I was excellent in a sales and marketing capacity to build out that stuff. So I do have a background in technology and a background in marketing, and that's why I find these sorts of thought exercises interesting. I laid all of this out on the table and I asked myself what it could be pointing to. You've got more time in the game, you've got more sessions, you've got longer to complete the season, you've got higher costs as a result and a need to recoup those costs. And the only thing that I could come up with is that Bethesda is building up the layers for an ad-supported model of the game. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't have any information that says that's going to happen, but it makes sense. They give the game away for free. They force people to play it for longer. They have to log in more days to get the rewards. All they have to do is show them an ad at the beginning of the session. Fallout First would become something like YouTube Premium, where you pay and then you don't see ads. And even if 50% of the non-Fallout First people left the game, and Bethesda was able to monetize the other 50% by showing them ads, that would be great. It would reduce load on the servers, and they would collect recurring revenue from people who are already conditioned to see ads and who are willing to trade that attention for playtime. It's the only business model I can see for Fallout 76 that makes sense in the long run. And of course, we get it. Nobody wants this. I don't want it. It's going to destroy a lot of the good things that exist for this game. It's going to piss off the community. It's going to do nothing but bad in its level of disruption. But imagine with me if they were to do it, and you're a new player who joins a couple of months later, and it's just the way that it is. There are some people who would leave, but a lot of people would stay to play for free. Those of us who are here now would look at the transition from what we have today to a different system, and we'd freak out. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the new Season 16 scoreboard changes. But if you never knew it when it was different, like I never knew Fallout 76 back in 2018, 2019, before the Raiders were at Crater and it was just called the Crash Space Station, or when the game had a whole host of other issues, or before the Settlers were even around. I don't know any of that stuff. So for me, the game is just the way that it is, and in my mind, it's always been that way.
We're interested to know what you think of this idea. Does it make sense? Or can you see any other direction that this level of disruption is moving? Let us know in the comments or on Discord. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, all of you who are members of this channel. Without your support, these videos would be a lot harder to produce.
If you are at all interested in supporting the content that we make, please smack that join button down below and become a channel member. My name is C.A.M.P.
And I'm Noodle Pants.
And until next time, stay safe out there, Vault Dwellers, because the night is dark and full of terrors.